Hello, everyone. My name is Jane Prince, and I'm a school counselor. I know that hit you funny, didn't it? School counselor talking about athletics. I'm sure that seems a little weird. But the reason I'm talking about athletics is because of my family background. My husband is a head football coach. He actually coaches in Fauquier County. He's been a head coach for 28 years. I coached swimming and tennis for 7 years in the early part of my career. I was initially a physical education major and coach, health teacher, before I became a school counselor. I've been a school counselor most of my career, though. In addition to that, both of my children, grown now, played college sports. My daughter, this is Ashley Moose, she's also going to present today, played college basketball. My son just graduated from Columbia University in New York City. He played football. This is my son-in-law, and he played basketball and baseball in college and went into the pros in baseball. So we have a lot of athletics in our family, okay? My husband and I retired in the state of Kentucky last spring. We knew we could retire in Kentucky. We started preparing a year ahead of time to try to come to Virginia so that I could be closer to my children, both my daughter and my son. Of course, you know it's closer to New York City from here than it would be in western Kentucky, okay? And I had a granddaughter born this year. So, and just to show you also about what it's like in my family, when she got married, my husband was in the semi-state football championship. The night before, I did not go to her rehearsal dinner. I was at a football game, talking to her on the phone, okay? In the last 6 seconds of a game, a student threw a Hail Mary pass that put us in the state championship, and the next morning she was married. So that's what my life has been like. It has been exciting, and I do enjoy it because I like sports anyway. So that's where I'm coming from. And knowing that about me, you understand when I share these details with you, I have learned it along the way as a parent, as a counselor, as a counselor of student athletes, not only my children, but the students that were in my school building, okay? And the last 12 years, I worked with seniors. So I really did work with those students that went on to the next level in athletics and in theater and music and whatever else they were doing. So it has been a wonderful road, but a lot of things I think I can share with you now as parents of students that are getting ready to be college athletes. So I have a question for you. I want to know, share with me quickly, what sport are you representing with your student?
Football and lacrosse.
Football. Football and track. Lacrosse.
Soccer and track.
What's the first one?
Soccer.
Women's golf.
Women's golf.
Soccer and field hockey.
Soccer, field hockey.
Basketball, track.
Basketball, track.
Track and cross country.
Track, cross country.
Same.
Same, okay. Football. Basketball.
Baseball.
Baseball.
Swimming and lacrosse.
Swimming. Football.
Football, soccer, and track.
Okay. So sometimes I lean a little bit too much toward football just because I live with a football coach. But it all relates to every single sport, and you will see how that works. So I apologize if I talk about football too much, but really, honestly, I've worked with all kinds of athletes. So as you know, you have a PowerPoint. You're welcome to take notes if you'd like. I'm hoping that when you take this with you today, it'll be a great resource. Also, I mentioned, if you didn't hear me, I've got my card at the front. If you need to call me sometime and ask a question, I'll be glad to help. Sometimes students say to me, or parents say to me from another school, my counselor didn't do that with my kid. They didn't help me with that. Well, please don't pick on the counselors. Counselors are busy people, and especially senior counselors. This is my hobby. This is my love. This is why I know so much about it, okay? And so sometimes other schools would send their athletes to me for us to double check things to make sure that they were in the right realm of things. So keep that in mind, and don't be down on your counselor. They know plenty. They're busy, okay? And we'll talk about that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to mention today are the academic part of it. We're going to talk about academics. In order to be a recruitable athlete, you have to be a student. You have to be serious about both. And for some sports, you have to be a really great student in order to get money to couple with the athletic money. Okay? So this is a great tool for parents to say, I know, Johnny, I know you want to be a star athlete, but if you're not a star student, you might not be recruitable. So use that when you get home today, because I know you want to, okay? But there are different levels, and the first thing we're going to mention that exists in every school in the NCAA is something called the 48H form. The 48H form is a document online that you have access to from your high school that mentions all of the courses that are acceptable in the NCAA. And you can access that today by going to ncaa.org for your high school. What is interesting about this, and as you know, do we have anybody who has a senior this year? No. Okay. 16 cores are what you have to have, but sometimes those cores can also be elective classes, not just your basic English, math, science, and social studies. It can also be other electives that fit into science or fit into math that might be just a bit easier but might give you a nice A to boost your core GPA. Those are all listed here. That's helpful to you. Instead of your student take ceramics 4 times, they might really want to think about how they can boost their core grade point average by scheduling. Okay? This is an example from the high school in Kentucky where I worked of a 48H form. Okay? So I'm going to pass this around for you to see. Ashley, get me some water. After talking 2 hours, I need to take a drink. Okay. There are different levels to be recruited on, as I know you know. Everybody thinks they're going D1, right? I am D1. There is nothing else. Do you hear that? I know I'm D1. Okay, yes, we all wish that. This recruiting roller coaster is just that, a roller coaster. And there's great ball on every level. There are great sports on every level. And honestly, as you get deeper into it, there are purposes why students choose different levels because of select schools, majors, different things. And they use their sport, as my son did, to get into a select school. As a school counselor and a helicopter mom, I realized soon on, after my daughter had gone on to play college basketball, then my son might be able to use his football to get into a select school because both of them were smart, both of them were good students, and that is what happened for him. He ended up playing the Ivy League, and we used his football for that. So there are different levels, and the first one is Division I, and as of now, a 2.3 core is your minimum. And PE and art and music and technology, those courses don't count for the most part in the NCAA. If your students' schedules are loaded with that, their transcripts have a lot of that, it's going to be more difficult for them, first of all, to get a core GPA that's necessary, second of all, to meet all the 16 cores that they have to have. So it's important for you to be following what they're scheduling, okay? So there's a sliding scale in the NCAA. You can get this, once again, on the website. It's your core GPA and your college entrance exam, your SAT, your ACT, okay? The higher your grades are, the lower your college test can be. I'll say that again. The higher your core grade point average grades are, the lower your test score can be. This is just for eligibility with the NCAA. If you're wanting to go to Stanford, you better be more concerned about how to academically get accepted to Stanford, even though they're Division I. You see? So it's important to understand what it takes. The next level, Division II, is a bit different, still NCAA, still 2.0 core, but you use a sum score. A sum score means, in the ACT, the best of the 4 different tests: the English, the math, the reading, the science. If you take the test 4 times, you can use the best of the 4. The best reading, the best science. You can take that part of the test that's the best, you add it together, it's got to be in the minimum of a 68. So if I had a 20 on each one, okay, then I'm golden. All right? But you take your best one. So 40, so 20 plus 20 is 40, and so on, 80. That would be an 80 sum score. Okay? Around here, you're more familiar with the SAT. They would sum score in order to get a verbal and a math. I think we had some discussion about that the last one. I'm pretty sure the writing is simply to help you get into the select school. The NCAA is more concerned about the verbal and the math. NCAA 3, that we understand those are more academic institutions for the most part. If you can actually get accepted to them academically and they don't have athletic money, then you can play the sport there if you're on their level. Okay? They will couple together monies, though, to help you if you're a good student. They can give you academic scholarship. They can give you leadership scholarship. They can give you, volunteer service scholarship, whatever they have, a church matching scholarship. So you want to be good in everything that you can be across the board. A good person, a good student, a leader, okay, all of those things. In the NAI, this is where my daughter played college basketball. There are also two levels. There's a Division I and II. The NAI, there's not as many of the schools around here, I don't think, but in Kentucky where we were, there were a lot of them. Ashley mentioned in the last presentation, she was also recruited by a Division II school that offered her full tuition, but nothing else. Half. They offered her half. But then we went to an NAI school, actually was very similar in ability, and they offered her a full scholarship. My bill for her college the first year was $13 for a parking pass. That's all I paid, okay? So we chose the NAI school to help us pay, okay? Junior college eligibility, a lot of our pro athletes start there and move on. Robbie, tell us about baseball.
Some of the minimum criteria for the Major League Draft, either you get drafted out of high school to play professional baseball. If you decide to go to a 4-year school, you have to wait until after your junior year or 21 years old in order to have the opportunity to leave that school to go into the draft. So you've got some maybe baseball players that aren't as academically inclined and really want that, but want to have that opportunity to go play professional baseball. So if they meet these requirements, they have the opportunity to be drafted out of that junior college. But if they choose to go the NCAA route, it's going to at least be their junior year or the age of 21. So that's sometimes with baseball, you see things a little bit differently. Okay.
Our new chairman of the board, Mr. Sawyers, was in here the previous session, and he was also mentioning something about this and said that it's a seamless transition many times from the junior college level into an NCAA Division I or wherever you're wanting to transfer, sometimes more so than like from D2 to D3 or D3 to D1. It's a nice transition. So there are a lot of athletes that choose to do this. Some of them choose to do it because simply they don't academically qualify to be to the Division I where they were being recruited or the Division II. They start there and they work their way over, and that's okay too. The only thing you really have to go to the junior college is to graduate from high school, and now you really need to meet your benchmarks on college entrance exams. You can't use remedial classes to count towards your eligibility, so you still need to meet benchmarks to be able to take them on a college level when you get there. Okay, so enough of that. Let's go on to the next thing, and I'll answer questions about this afterwards if you have more. College entrance exams are very important. And the counselors and the teachers in your school are most likely telling your student that they should not or will not be taking a college entrance exam, SAT, ACT, until the spring of their junior year. If you get on the website today for the ACT, that's what you'll read. But as a college athlete, unless you know, maybe in a gifted program, your student's already gotten a 21 as a 7th grader, okay, like the Duke TIP program. You know that you might struggle with this test score a bit. In my opinion, and this is what I had my own students do, my own children, start taking this as a sophomore. You're not expected to do the best you can do as a sophomore, of course, but you get an area to see where your student is at this point. Are they really good in English? Are they really good in reading? Are we good there? Is math a weakness? Where are we with science? And if you find out that your student has a weak area, you're finding out early enough that you can do something about it. And in the school where I just got through working, I had a professional individual tutors that came in to work. I had retired teachers. I had a system going, and once my principal saw what was going on, we provided it to all students. But I was getting my students to eligibility. Sometimes they take the test 5 times, but if the NCAA would let me super score, I was all about it. So I would start focusing in on that 1 weak area, and I'd get 1 more point this time, and I'd get 2 more points that time, okay? So you can start tutoring and hiring somebody to tutor your student now to make sure that the score is going up. Okay? So start early, because if you already have your pre-qualifying information out of the way, by the end of your junior year, you're more recruitable. You're going to be an academic qualifier. They're not going to take a risk by giving you an offer. You see? Okay. Anything? What's that? Fee waivers. Ashley, tell them about that.
So the fee waivers for ACT and SAT, if you're on free and reduced lunch, you get 2 for each test. Your guidance counselors can offer you that. You just have to go and ask for it, and they'll give you a piece of paper with a code on it. And you put the code in when you're registering for the test. But if you use it and you don't show up for the test, you've burned that one time. Okay, so make sure if you're going to use that code, you need to go to the test, because you only get 2 for each test. Does that make sense?
Use a fee waiver. The first time you can use a fee waiver is in your junior year. They don't want to waste or have you waste one as a sophomore. So you're going to have to pay the money to start that early testing. But as a junior, you can start to use those fee waivers. Okay, let's go next. Now, I should have written this down, and I didn't. But on your slide here, write NCAA right there on A for yourself. This is the actual website for you to click on to file for the Eligibility Center. You need to do this by the end of your sophomore year if you think that you could possibly be recruited on the NCAA Division I or II level. I did not say Division III because they do not use the system. They don't need to. Division I or II NCAA. That is the website. End of their sophomore year. And this is what the site looks like, and I'll pass that around. That way you kind of know if you're in the right spot. Once you get on there, there's some preliminary information that you fill out. And you're going to get an ID number. And when you, students do this for everything. Technology's taken over. Please have them write down their password. It really is hard to go and find it if they've forgotten it, especially when the coach is calling from the college and they've messed up something and they didn't finish the process, and we're trying to get in there really quick and clean it up so they don't get in trouble, okay? So make sure that you take care of this at the end of the sophomore year. You guys can pass that around. This is the NCAA Eligibility Center. It's $80. I thought it was $60. The lady in the last group told me it was $80. The good news, once again, if your student is on free or reduced lunch, you can go to your school counselor who clicks a button and it's paid for. Okay? All right.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Are those the only fee waivers that there are, or are there other fee waivers?
There are for admissions. There are a number of them. And let's talk about it at the end because I can give you some good ideas. And you know what? If you qualify or anybody does, you've got to take advantage of it. It's so expensive. And you want to apply to multiple places because you're really not sure. It's sort of a waiting game until you match up. So I'll give you some ideas. Okay, this NCAA code, it's 999. When you go in, is anybody in here already registered to help their student register online? Okay, you're going to see this. When you go in to the ACT or the College Board to register for the SAT, they're going to say, what 4 colleges would you like to send their scores to? And they're going to give you drop-down screens and let you choose the colleges. And, of course, they're going to choose their University of Alabama. They're going to choose Connecticut. And they're going to choose Hawaii because they're going to Hawaii, right? They're going to choose those. Don't let them do that. Choose a dream school. Choose a couple of realistic schools. And then choose the NCAA and the NAIA or both. The reason you want to do this, neither one of these, the NCAA or the NAIA, will actually accept scores that come from the high school. They'll accept the transcript, but the scores have to be official. They have to come from ACT, or they have to come from the SAT. And these are the codes that you need, which are hard to find on there for some reason sometimes, for the NCAA, and I'll talk more about this one, for the NAIA. It'll save you $15 in a credit card and a big headache, okay? So when you register for the test for the first time, and every time after that, include that code, and it'll save you $15 every time you take the test to make sure those scores go to those eligibility centers. Okay? That's a real important thing. And it's the one thing that the athletes that I worked with tripped up on. They would get on campus, they'd be there the first day, the coach would meet them at the gate before they got on the field, and they'd say, oh no, Johnny, you're not eligible. Not my problem. Don't know what you did wrong, but you're not eligible according to the center. They give me a call. They're panicked. Their parents mad at me like I've done something, okay? I can't put my own credit card in there and pay for it and take care of it for them in there. But I would try to monitor and help them. But this actually happened. A soccer player, he got on the field and the coach said, you can't even step on the field. His mom called me, panicked. I got on his site. Thank goodness he had his password. He didn't send his scores. He never sent his official scores. He had a good one. He just never sent it. So we had to send it. We had to pay extra so it would get there in one day. And then they'll process that when they have time. They're working on the whole country. They're not worried about you today, you see? So you want to make sure that you continually click back on this until it says eligible, right? He didn't do that. Okay, the NAIA also, as I said, was a different kind of college level. And now, about 5 years ago, they started their own eligibility center process, and it's about $50. Once again, fee waiver can be used. A counselor has to send a letter. Your student needs to bring them their ID number for both NCAA, NAIA. It helps them process the fee waiver. Okay? That's the code. All right. I want to talk briefly about the media. We've seen some athletes say some things that really mess them up. All of us have seen them on TV. Okay? In fact, I won't go into detail, but I saw one on Jimmy Fallon about 3 years ago from a football player from the University of Kentucky, and I just couldn't believe it. First of all, I couldn't believe I was up late enough to see it. Second of all, that he was saying what he was saying on TV. And, of course, when you know it's Jimmy Fallon, it can't be good, right? He really messed up. Kids say things. It just pops out of their mouth. They didn't think a little bit beforehand about what they were going to say. This kid had a great game. This is actually, I didn't put his name up here, actually in Virginia at a college. And this is what he said to the media after he ran 4 touchdowns in a football game. Okay? It went nationwide. This happened like 10 years ago. It's still out there. You know, some of these I made up. You know, we couldn't have won this game if it weren't for me. Just all about me. My coach, he doesn't know what he's doing. We make the plays. Those kinds of things you never want to say. Not just because it's about who that student athlete is. It's about who they're representing, their teammates, their coaches, their school. And the coach that's recruiting them that sees it, that goes, oh, no, 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 no. I don't want him or her. Okay? So positively, and this didn't show up very well on the smart board, but there's a number of things, and it's on your slide, about how to handle things. Be humble. Some people call it the Bull Durham speech, right? I could not have done this today. Peyton Manning's the best. Could not have done this today without my teammates. My line was blocking for me. Everybody, you know, I was trying to throw passes, but the receivers just caught everything. Okay? We had a lot of preparation. We worked so hard in the weight room in the preseason, and that's why we were successful. They kind of know ahead of time about what they want to say. Make sure that they understand that can last forever now in our technology world, whatever they say. Okay? Make sure it's about a 1-sentence answer. 20 seconds, I think I put on there. Quick, short. Okay. How do you know you're being recruited? This is an emotional roller coaster. This is something I've been through with both of my kids. And at first, the mailbox was filling up at home, especially for my son. And I thought, wow, Arkansas, Notre Dame, South Carolina, wow, he's really being recruited heavily. My ego's out the roof, right? His ego's out the roof. You're really thinking something. It's propaganda. He's on a list. Doesn't mean a thing. Until you start getting handwritten letters and notes and text messages and phone calls, until you start getting official visits offered, your student is not being recruited. It is a tough pill to swallow. It's really hard. And you know what's so hard for me too now after the fact is when I'm talking to a parent and they say, no matter what, my student's going to the University of Louisville to play football. and I look at them and I say, oh, that's just so great. And I'm thinking, no, they're not. Gosh darn it, no, they're not. They're not, because they've not even been recruited. University of Louisville gave out all of their offers in the summer of that student's junior year, and he is December of his senior year, and he doesn't have an offer. And that, unfortunately, is a tough pill to swallow for for us as parents because we still think there's a chance, and there's not. The other colleges below that Division I school are already taking what they didn't want and offering, and that student still doesn't have an offer. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot that we have to do as parents to market our students to help them, because unfortunately not everybody has the same amount of money in a recruiting budget. So we can do a lot as parents to make a difference in the recruiting process. And for Ashley, I sent out 10 packages, Dream School to Realistic. I sent out the letter that she's got written here, game film, schedule, sent out 10. She got a call by the scholarship that she received the next week. We helped the coach. She's coaching. She's doing the best she can. She's in the middle of her season, and she's expected to pick up 3 more athletes. Okay? She liked what she saw. It helped her out. All right. Phone contact. When you start receiving phone calls, and I've got some information over there, have a list of 15 questions next to the phone that ask what you want to know. Here are some ideas that I highlighted for you on phone. Academics. What are the admission requirements of your school? That's a nice question. Makes you sound smart. Ask it. You probably already know. Some of these you already know the answer. Ask it anyway. You don't want the conversation to be awkward. You want to sound intelligent. And you also want to get some information. And you want to sound prepared. Another question. Does your team have a full-time academic advisor? Good question. There's a lot on here. In the area of recruiting, has your coaching staff evaluated me? I called a coach for my daughter in Colorado. I don't know where it was. They sent us all kinds of stuff. I asked him, do you know my daughter? He didn't. He was just making mail, sending mail. Another question on recruiting. Where do I fit on your recruiting board? In the other group, I mentioned the recruiting board a lot. Places like the University of Alabama. They know in the 7th and 8th grade kind of where they're going with this, who they want. And that board is ever changing. They know who the top athletes are in the country. They have enough money to pay the people to get out there and get the information. That's their job. Okay? When you ask a coach, though, where am I on the recruiting board? I did this with my son. My husband did. He was being recruited by the University of Illinois at quarterback. We went to camp. He had a fabulous camp. I thought, we're getting somewhere. Joe asked him, where is he on the board? 4. We knew that they were probably going to offer the quarterback from Illinois that was football player of the year. So we were done. It was over. He was 4. They have to tell you it's an honest answer. Okay? It's an important question, tough pill to swallow, important question. Scholarship information. How many scholarships do you have available in my class? They might be recruiting you and they don't even need a point guard. Okay? College life questions. What's a typical day in the life of an athlete? We were talking about this earlier. My son played, as I told you, at Columbia. They got up at 4 in the morning. They caught a bus at 4:30 a.m. They rode it to the Bronx. They practiced on their field, which was not on campus. They practiced till 9 o'clock. They got back on a bus after having a snack. They rode the bus back to campus. They had breakfast. He went to class. About 3 o'clock, they started meetings. He went to 7 or 8 o'clock at night. That's a typical day in the life of a football player in the Division I level, and that's what it's like. And a whole lot worse in Alabama and some of these really very specific schools. So it's important to ask questions. Okay. Technology. Take over. Mrs. Moose.
Okay, so when I worked with my mom and the high school kids, I was going around and I was seeing what they were posting on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, everything. And it was bad. And they thought no one could see them but their friends. They were wrong. Okay, I got on and I found all their comments, what they were saying. And so I went and I posted it on a board like this. And I said, look, I just found everything you were saying to your friends. And they were shocked. They didn't have any clue that anyone else could see them. Okay, so this is when I say you need to be a helicopter parent. I hated when my mom did it to me, but I'm glad she did. All right, you need to make sure your child has a private, on their Instagram, it's private, Facebook, Twitter, because coaches and their the teammates at their college that they might want to go to, they're going to check you out on Facebook. They're going to look and see what kind of person you are. As me personally, when I played basketball in college, we would get on the Facebook and we would check out to see how that girl was. Did we like her? We would just judge her. Before we even knew her, we would judge her. And if we thought something was up, we'd tell our coach, no, we don't want her. We don't want her part of our family because of this. This is what we've seen already. So you need to make sure that they know. If it's not something your grandma's going to like, then don't post it on Facebook. Don't post it on Twitter. Don't post it on Snapchat. Don't post it on Instagram. Because somebody can go and find that. Once it's posted, it's out there for everyone to see. So if grandma's not going to like it, then your coach isn't going to like it. So keep that in mind.
Quick question about that. Is the absence of being on those sites
It is a good thing.
an issue?
That's a yes and no
Absence
question.
of it.
That's a yes and no.
I would say if you really are being recruited heavily, then don't have it because it might benefit you because they're not going to be able to look. But then again, if you can post things.
They have to have text messaging. They have to have that because that's where a coach a lot of times will reach out. And they even have very specific rules in certain sports in the NCAA about calls, text, emails.
Book your Instagram, things like that. If you
It
don't
can-
have
it can hurt you, it
on
can
their
help you.
site.
That's a yes and no, and we can't answer that. I can tell you she had a friend that was recruited by the University of Florida, and he disappeared from technology in his junior and senior year. Very smart thing to do. He was already being recruited. He didn't need that. Okay? So can it be used as a tool to market yourself? Possibly. But that's where we'll talk more about the NCSA and other things like that.
And
So
sometimes Twitter can be beneficial there because there's only certain things that you can post or you can attach to. So it's not like you're going to see as much or friends that post stuff and then you like it and then next thing you know, coach sees that you like something that was inappropriate and now they're questioning your judgment based upon something that you've done there.
You know, Twitter's looking at opening it up to
Yeah, 10,000 characters.
And you have Facebook, and you don't look at it but once every 2 weeks, and your friend posts something about a big major party that we're all going to. Come on, you got to go. And it's like on your Facebook. You didn't even know it. Coaches know it. They've got somebody paid to monitor that. Make sure they're not going to. They can't afford to make a mistake. They can't afford to take a kid that's going to embarrass them or help them lose their job. You see? Okay, so important. Online scouting reports, NCSA. You know, I really don't believe in spending money. I hate to be that way. I don't want you to spend money. You can do this as a parent. A lot of times, kids are going to be recruited no matter what you do because they're that fabulous. Other times, like I said, and especially sports that don't have a lot of money in recruiting budget, you might need a little extra help, and they might go to a service to get that help on their off time because they don't have a lot of recruiting time or resources. The NCSA, I found this one along the way. There's others out there. You probably know better ones than I do. The guy who owns this particular program started it, I'm going to say 10, 15 years ago, played football for Vanderbilt. He's very intelligent. It has really grown. There are tiers that you pay for. It will host video once or twice a year, depending on what you're paying for. It provides specialists to speak to on group phones about supplements, training, lifting, how to be the best quarterback, whatever it is. They also provide tutoring services for college entrance exams. They have a viewership, which is fabulous. You get on there and you can actually see what college has looked at your film, what coach did that, and how many times they saw it, and what dates. And then their phone number's right there, and email if you'd like to say, hey, I saw you saw my son's film, or you just say, hey, I'm so-and-so, you know. It's nice. And I've actually talked with the NCSA about coming up and visiting our area in Northern Virginia. I've been pretty busy after a move, but they told me they would come, probably have them come to Fauquier High School, but I'll invite all of Prince William County, of course, and love for you to do that. That's where my husband coaches. So that's a good service. You can get on there today. NCSAsports.org, I think is the website. Another thing about summer camps. You don't want to waste money here. Don't make the mistakes I did. I spent $500 to send my daughter to a soccer camp at IU. 3 days, $500, really? The coaches use that to help assistant coaches supplement their pay. But if you are invited to a 1-day, a 2-day camp, take advantage of it. It's $40, $50. Maybe your school provides a bus to take multiple athletes to. Take advantage of those opportunities in your area where you think you will be recruited. You can save money. It's smart. And that's actually where they're looking for athletes. They're not looking for them in the $500 a camp where they've got kids K through 10 there, okay? They're looking for them in the invite camps. And, you know, younger on, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th, freshmen, you can go and actually get better at your game. Ashley did. She went to some basketball camps where she was able to play against other good athletes and improved her game. Okay? So understand about saving money and time. Materials to send to coaches. If you're going to do it on your own, these are the kind of things that are helpful to them. If you're going to create your own package, first of all, Huddle's the way to do it. Every school has Huddle. Your kid has a Huddle login right now. If your school doesn't have Huddle, they need it. Honestly, they have to have it. Coaches can't exchange film anymore without it. Okay? Yes?
I want to digress for a minute here. You stated you recommended not to do the online scouting and recruiting. Then you talked about NCAA, and I think there's a cost to that.
Oh, it's very expensive. That's a no stone.
You recommend it?
No. I'm saying this is no stone left unturned. For my daughter, I did not spend a penny except for the packages that I mailed my stuff in. Okay? But I did do this one, and I didn't choose the top tier. I just chose one that I thought that coaches were going to help my son. And I would have done it for her at the time. I didn't know about it. Okay? There are choices to be made here as a parent. Do you want to spend money? Do you don't? If your student is already being recruited, you don't need this. You just need to collect these things and have them available when you need them. You know, if your student's really being recruited, let's say Alabama, you need to make sure you've got that NCAA ID number by the phone. When that coach calls, he's going to want that number. He's going to check in there. He's going to look and see if your kid's academically eligible. Then he'll say, we'll talk. You see? And a lot of times these coaches would come into my office, and I had a tool that I used to break it down. And I'd say, here it is. And they go, nope, can't do that. He's not going to work out here. Or yes, oh, thank goodness. He's good to go. But these are the kind of things that you need. An athletic resume simply includes your academic information, but all of your sports honors and awards. Okay? District all-star team, all-state runner-up, whatever. They want to know that. These are things that you can include. Okay?
I'm sorry, ma'am, can you elaborate on the Huddle account? You said each
Yes.
school should have that?
Each school should. And now, I don't know if your school does or doesn't, but Huddle is used by the coaches, and they exchange film for game night. They exchange on a Sunday usually, especially football, and they evaluate the game or the team that they're getting ready to play the next week. The kids also have logins where they can make their own highlights of their own film from their own high school.
Speaking
Okay.
of making their own highlights, don't put music on there. The coaches don't want to hear it. You want instrument. They don't want to hear your rap music or your country music. Don't do it. We put the TV on silent so we wouldn't have to hear it. So that's something to keep in mind.
You know, it's really funny. This Coach Kamel, who participated in one of the workshops that we did, he said he'd heard Eye of the Tiger so many times he couldn't stand it anymore, okay? So she was right about that. So that answered your question. The Huddle thing, it is a little concerning if your school doesn't have it. Honestly, they probably do have it.
We're new here. We came from Tennessee to here.
Okay.
And my son is a junior, so
Okay.
he's way behind the power curve with everything. And it seems like a breakdown in communication, a disconnect
Could be.
with my student and the
Well, just
counselor
ask the
and
coach.
everything.
I would ask the head coach if they have
Yeah.
it.
And see, that's another.
You know,
thing.
honestly,
And Huddle's going to be something that's videotaped and it's clips, and then you're going to be able to watch, let's say basketball or baseball or soccer, whatever it is, you're going to be able to truly go through and see what did they do great in this game, and they may be competing against another top flight Division I athlete. I'm going to go and pick, if my son did something great in competing against that, I'm going to be sure that I put that clip out there for everybody to see. And then you can put specific writing to go alongside that. So Robbie Moose competing against 5-star athlete, whatever, so that when you post that out there, everybody sees, this isn't just Robbie Moose competing against somebody that's a no-name. This is someone who's a true top-tier level athlete. That may jump off the page. And just from one video clip, I may get an offer. Because they see you, yes, and you can do that, exactly right. So you could truly pull off every top tier. If you're up here, you're probably in high school, playing, let's just say football or basketball. More than likely, you're going to play against 10 to 15 players in this area who are Division I athletes. So if I've got great film or great clips competing against them, that my kid's doing something great, I'm going to make sure I've got that on the highlight to put out there. I may just attach it to if I've got a social media site. I may then just shoot that in an email to coaches. This is my son's highlight. But there along the line, they're not wondering who number 24 for this school is. They may not be able to see. But if you add that message to it, Robbie Moose versus, I know Ahmad Brooks went to school here, versus Ahmad Brooks in 2001, 2002, whenever it was. That way they know who they're competing against, so they have a little different lens on that evaluating of that tape.
You know, my husband said that I'd have this question. I'm glad you brought it up about huddle. It's not the end all. You know, with my son, they didn't have logins for the actual athlete chat on Huddle. We use YouTube. We use it a lot. If we had a clip or we had a whole game, we would put it on YouTube, and then we would provide the coach with a link on email. Okay? There's ways to get around everything. But if your coach does have Huddle, quite possibly your son might have a login that you didn't know about. And unfortunately, a lot of times, they don't always tell us what they're supposed to tell us, do they, that the coaches might have mentioned before. They might not have known what it was, but that's one thing to know. So there's different ways of getting your information out. Okay, who's responsible for getting your kid a scholarship? I can comfortably say this. My husband does not coach in this county. It is not your high school coach. It hurts to hear that. It's the truth. They are your friend to help you, and they are a resource. That is it. Be good to your high school coach. If you're the crazy mom, the crazy dad that calls every week about his playing time, when the college coach calls to ask how's his kid, there's a good chance he has the right to say, well, he's a good athlete, he's a nice kid, his mom's wearing me out. They have 5 Johnnies on the same level they're recruiting. Your Johnny just dropped off the map possibly. Okay? You need to understand, you need to have a good working relationship with that coach, not just for that reason, so that your son, with an open mind, can play ball without having someone in his ear 24/7. Okay? He's doing the best he can. He's a kid, 16, 17, 18. Okay? It's important to know that. So have a good working relationship. Some coaches have more contacts than others. All right? And I mentioned to somebody earlier, there's another presentation I do, 10 things that make you smarter than the players' parents. Okay? I do that with football coaches with my husband. A lot of times they don't have training to know how to do all these things, so I don't mind helping them. It's not really their job. Their job, honestly, is to coach on a Friday night and get them ready, or coach on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a swim meet, okay? So if you're good to them, they'll help you. You guys can work together. It's important to know that. Be good to your school counselors. I mentioned I work with seniors. We're busy people. We're very, very busy. Email the counselor, I need for you to upload transcript to my son's NCAA account. Here's his ID number. Thank you so much. I know you're busy. If you could do that for me, just email me back when it's done, and then I'll log on and see. Okay? Be kind, courteous, understanding. They're dealing with 400 kids who all have an agenda and a need. Okay? Understand that. Market your athlete following a successful season. I can't tell you the number of times when we have overzealous parents that are wanting to market their student and they're not even starting on varsity at their own high school. You've got to be realistic about things. Understand, if they're not starting at your own high school, it's probably not a good time to market them yet. We're talking about going on to the next level in college. Okay? If they can't even start for the high school, you need to start becoming realistic. But it could be that you play for the #1 high school in the nation. That high school might be better than most college teams. Okay? So just understand realistically where you are and when you need to start marketing your student. Attending recruiting invites, camps, official, unofficial visits. When coaches call and they invite you to things, don't blow them off. Take their call. Go to the things they invite you to. If you can't or student can't, make sure they know why. I had a student that was a pretty good athlete that played for my husband. He blew off every invitation to this particular college. When he didn't have a scholarship offer from the college, his father was furious. He never attended anything. He never returned a phone call. Coaches are just like little kids sometimes. They get their feelings hurt. Well, he didn't want us. He blew me off. Never returned my 8 phone calls. Never attended a one-day camp. Okay? And just like on Black Monday in the NFL where all the coaches got fired, coaches hop from school to school to school. You're nice to him here at Notre Dame, and he's coaching over here give me a UVA next week, and he remembers you, how cordial you were, how academic, how talented, and now he wants you at UVA. You see? So make sure you remember it all comes around. Everybody's connected. Financial aid is critical. If you've not heard of the FAFSA yet, the FAFSA is the Free Federal Financial Aid Form. If I'm Donald Trump and my daughter's Ivanka, she's going to file the FAFSA. It doesn't matter how rich you are, what race you are, what ethnicity, class you're in. It makes no difference. Everybody fills this out. Coaches use this information in order to put your scholarship package together. They have to have it. And the earlier you have it done makes you more recruitable. Yes?
January 1st of their senior year?
January 1st of their senior year, however, it's changing. Of course it is, right, when you're learning how to do it. This is not for you all. This is the last year of January 1st. Next year, fall of 2016, it will change for the first time ever to October 1st. And they're going to call it prior. That means that you're going to use taxes from 2 years ago when you file, okay? And you don't have to use a retrieval tool to pull in your new taxes. The federal government has decided to accept the old information, all right? So that's very helpful to athletics because you'd like to have all that information complete and understand whether you're grant eligible early. It makes you more recruitable. I've talked to coaches a number of times who tell me if they're recruiting the same 5 Johnnies on the same level, if this Johnny has his financial aid package finished early, he's getting a scholarship because he's got a deadline. This little Johnny didn't do his 4 or 5 months later. It's too late. He might be on the same talent level, but he messed up and didn't get his paperwork done. Pell Grants, free federal, if you qualify for that, if your student's on free and reduced lunch, chances are you'll get some free money, maybe $6,000 to $7,000 or more, depending on the year. The state that you live in might have further scholarships. In Kentucky, we had CAP Grant. CAP Grant was an extra $2,000. They're taking that information and they're saying, oh, he's got $8,000 free money. I only need to give him $12,000 now to meet the 20. I can give him a full scholarship. Okay? They're using that grant money many times unless it's a full scholarship already provided within the school, and we'll talk more about who gets those. But financial aid is critical. Have your paperwork in order. Have your old taxes ready to go. The minute this opens up online, file it. Get it finished. Have somebody help you if you've never done it who knows what they're doing, just like they're riding a bike. I had an expert that worked with me every year, and she would come to my school and hold the hand of the parents and the students. And she was fabulous. In fact, I called her last night to get ready for you all. She's 13 hours away. Love her.
Now,
Yes.
so my understanding is next year, FY 2017, which would be 2016,
Yes.
you'll be filing those taxes, which were the year of 2014, 2015 tax.
Yes. That's right. And then you'll be ready to go early. That's correct. Okay. You're welcome. It's called prior. You'll be able to see it. Okay. Understanding the different levels of available scholarship. I think most of us know, but a lot of times we don't. I hear a lot of whatever sport, tennis, whatever. I coach tennis and swimming. Parents think their kids are going to get a full ride. It doesn't matter the sport. Unfortunately, that's not the case. There are head count scholarships, and there are equivalency athletes. There's a difference. Head count means football, basketball, and men. Okay? They're the revenue sports. All right? They have a certain number of full scholarships to give, and once they've counted their heads, I'm done. That's how many heads I have. That's how many scholarships I have. Equivalency sports are those where a coach, NCAA or not, gets a certain number of scholarships, and they divide it amongst their team. The better athlete you are, the more money you might get, hopefully on a team that they never get to compare who gets what. They use that Pell Grant, they use academic scholarship, whatever they can do to try to help that kid get it to full scholarship, no out-of-pocket expense. But those are equivalency sports. For women, a head count sport, we said, girls basketball, volleyball, swimming, gymnastics. Those are head count sports in the women's NCAA. Everything else is equivalency, including baseball and men. Okay, a lot of times we would think, that should be a full scholarship, right? No, they divide them up. So it's a matter of being a great student on the equivalency sports especially, and whether you're really talented. Okay? So there's different things. There's also things that are hidden in there too, like, for example, the more select schools, they have tiers. Robbie and I were talking about that they recruit within. For example, the Ivy League is based on grades. If you're on Tier 1, you have really high grades, but your athletic ability is here. Or you're really a great athlete, but your academics are here. That helps them place on different tiers. They have 4 tiers. They only have certain numbers of kids they can have in each tier per year. So you want to have both. You want to have the academics and you want to have the athletic ability to help you fit into whatever tier they have. Okay? Signing day. All right. Signing day is something that we worked more and more on in the schools where I worked. It's a rewarding day. It's a rewarding day for the families, for the athletes, for the teachers who worked and tutored with those students, for the mammals who bought basketball shoes, for everyone. It should be an important day. It should be something that you work with your high school on to make sure that they have something nice. Now, we had enough athletes recruited in the high school where I worked. We would usually put together 3 or 4 kids together. Sometimes the same sport, sometimes not. But what we found out is the most important piece probably of everything is a speech. Not necessarily what they say. That's important, of course. But the fact that it's written down, that it's typed in double space where they can read off the page. When you're giving your testimony, it's emotional. Okay? When you stand up and for the first time you look up and Mamaw's crying, guess what the athlete's going to do? They're going to bust out crying. They are. They do every time. They start crying. They lose track of what they wanted to say if they were going to wing it. They don't have anything to read. They just start winging it. They forget everything they want to say. They get emotional. And it's not how they want it to go. They want it to seem professional. We made our kids wear shirt and tie, okay, to look nice, present themselves well. You will find that the media probably will not show up for the signing unless the student's a Division I, okay? Many times if they're a Division I athlete, then it becomes newsworthy. And they will show up and videotape you live sometimes for a newscast, okay? You want that student to be prepared. You want them to feel proud when it's done, okay? So we had Ashley took a student athlete from her school, and understand he only had 5 minutes to prepare for this because we just wanted to give you an example of what we're talking about. But it's important to understand that this young man really is going to play college football. Great kid, great student. The first one we're going to show is he would, of course, do better. He would be dressed different. He would be standing up, and he would be reading from his speech. But he is doing, first of all, what we want him to do here.
Hello and thank you for coming. I have invited everyone here today to announce that I will be signing with Wake Forest to play for college football. I would like to thank my future head coach, Dave Carson. It is also very important to me to thank a number of people that have helped me with the process of preparing to play college football. Many of you here have sponsored me in the summer with football camps, and a number of people have coached me. My coaches and I would like to thank our Coach K, Scott Handback, Coach Mans, and Coach Hunt. In addition, I would like to thank the Hermitage Elite Program for guiding me through the recruiting process. My teachers and guidance counselors for advising me academically. My family who has come to all my games and supported me throughout my playing career. This is the most important day of my life, and I'm proud to share it with my friends, coaches, teachers, counselors, teammates, and family. Thank you for coming.
You did a great job. Okay, the next one is where you wing it. You don't really know what you're going to say.
Yeah, y'all. I like to, first of all, thank God and everything, I like to stand up here today, tell everybody thank you for coming and attending, my signing day. I will be signed to Wake Forest, you know what I mean? Thank you my team, my boys in the back, held me down during the season, you know what I mean? Gotta thank moms, my brothers, my coaches and everybody, you know what I mean? I'm gonna be down there at Wake Forest balling out, man, doing my thing, balling out with Dave Carson, you know how we do down at Wake Forest already, man. Let's go deep and deep.
Okay. And that was fine too, and that's what his teammates probably wanted, you know? They know, they love him, no matter what. But he's on live TV, Division I athlete, you see? And if they're feeling like they're very prepared, they sound very academic, very prepared for college, and you know, we want to put them in the best light. The other thing too, I just brought a few things as I mentioned before, just to get a little color in here, but I just happened to find this on my bulletin board. It's so cheap. I just took a picture that I had of Ashley, and I put, like, you know how you can put text on there, you go over to Walgreens or whatever, and you put down when your signing's going to be, and you make 50 of them, and you just give them out. He can give them out to, or she can give them out to friends, or mail them out to relatives, and make sure their clothes are ready. And usually the athletic director will have a cake and some punch, and everybody comes to the library media center, and you share together. It's a wonderful time. It's a great time. And so it's an easy thing to do and something that you should be prepared for. So I have thrown so much your way, I realize. And I would like for this last few minutes for me, you've got 5 minutes, if I could answer any questions for you. I'd love to do that. Oh, yes. Robbie's going to talk about this too. Sorry.
Sometimes we think, and I'm a middle school principal, so having gone through this process myself as a student athlete, it's great to work with families and kids especially, because the big time athletes, they are being recruited. They're being contacted at the middle school level. Your top tier programs, especially football, I think it was a couple years ago you saw that Lane Kiffin, who was at Tennessee at the time, offered a 7th grader. These things are starting to happen, guys. So I'm able to provide some input to the kids because I've been there, but to kind of prepare the parents too. This is what it's going to look like. Look, your kid has a great camp. Let's say they're playing AAU, goes to an AAU tournament, and just absolutely lights it up. Your phone may be ringing off the hook. You may have people contacting you left and right. You may have 300 letters in the mail the next week. You're like, what is going on here? So it's all about that preparation and kind of making them aware. What I like to tell my kids, though, is this. If you look at the probability chart of participants, then what it translates to actually performing at the college level, we're talking basically about 1.5 to 2% of all participants that will actually play college athletics. Break it down to go, because everybody's going, they're not just going to go to college, right? They're going to be a professional athlete. Once they get there, that 2%, then the percentage to play a professional sport is about 2%. So I joke with my But I like to tell them just briefly, and I'll let you guys go. If you really think that that's the way you're going to become a millionaire, go play the big game lottery. The percentages and likelihood of you becoming a millionaire are better when in the lottery. So that's just something I like to joke around with them. But before we go, there's just one thing that I wanted to share with you. Last year I had a gentleman that went through my middle school, and I kept in close contact with throughout his high school career, was an Army All-American and committed to University of Oklahoma last year. So we were talking over the break after they just got beaten. He's down in the dumps. But we talked about the recruiting process. And I said, Ricky, what do you feel would be 3 great things or a few great things to share with parents? So I'm just going to share those with you briefly. He said, the 3 most important things were how many people were at my position, what scheme and the fit for me to be successful, and where was I needed. If I'm needed somewhere, then I know my opportunity to play will be much greater. Kids are different. Some kids like the glitz and glamour of facilities. weight rooms, academic, advisor buildings. One school, as he mentioned, had a much better weight room. But once you get into that weight room, a 45-pound plate is a 45-pound plate. See if the coaches are genuine. And it's not the coaches from the recruiting. It's talking to the players at the university or college that you're being recruited by and see, are they real? Is this truly the family atmosphere that I think it is from the recruiting standpoint, but the players who are currently there are going to be able to give you the specific things. Coach can be all nice to you, but when you get there, it could be a different story. So those are just some things that he shared going through the recruiting process at a big-time Division I level, and they're going to be similar regardless of who you're being recruited by or what it looks like. Okay? Yep. What scheme they ran. So he was a hybrid outside linebacker, D-end, but wanted to really be able to drop in coverage and use some of his athleticism. So really he needed to go to a system that was going to be more of a stand-up D-end outside linebacker hybrid and not just being for his case, a 4-3 D-end, hand in the dirt, go rush, because now he's not using his talents to be the best player he can be. You know, some people are being recruited for basketball at sports. You look at the current roster, and they've got 3 shooting guards. Well, if they're recruiting me as a shooting guard, and I know that they're all freshmen and sophomores, I may go to that school because it's a love, but I may not see the floor for 2 or 3 years because of who's ahead of me. So those are all key components to this recruiting process. I played first base. Coming in, if they had a freshman All-American and that school was recruiting me, and I know I'm going to be maybe sitting behind that gentleman, and hopefully they get drafted after that junior year, those are the wise choices that you have to help your kids see along the way and understand so that they don't make a decision based upon going to play, that it truly is a decision as a student athlete. Okay?
2 more things. One of the things I used to do to go along with that is I would actually get on the college website and I would pull up their roster and I would start comparing what year they are. You can see what year they are in college. You start to figure out really quick whether you might actually get to play. Do they have a breaststroker already that's a freshman? My student's a breaststroker, you know, whatever. That's important. The other thing is that I tell all seniors, pick one, stick with it, and come home with a degree. Now, if they're going straight into the pros, one and done like Calipari, we can't do anything about that. They need to go, okay? But most of us don't do that. So pick one, stick with it, and come home with a degree. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much.